Welcome to the Retirement Outsiders Podcast. I'm your host, Steve, and I'm joined by my wife and co-host, Tony. The focus of this podcast is to discuss various retirement topics from an outsider's point of view. In terms of this podcast, an outsider is someone who is not retired, someone who is not a financial advisor, someone who is not a CPA, lawyer, or healthcare advisor. I'm an engineer, and Tony is a teacher. We've been preparing for retirement for several years. We've encountered many different opportunities and obstacles throughout our careers and our paths to retirement. Early on, so much of it was intimidating. Our intent is to make some sense out of all the financial, accounting, estate planning, and healthcare jargon from an outsider's perspective. In addition, we will discuss some of the behavioral aspects that come with not being tied down to a 9-to-5 job. Welcome to the Retirement Outsiders Podcast. Welcome to another episode of Retirement Outsiders. Today we're going to cover the Villages Part 2.
Okay.
You excited about that?
I'm always excited to talk about the Villages.
Awesome. So today we're going to cover some information on the homes, the cost of living there, some of the activities, including golf. Got a lot of detail to dig into, so let's get started. First of all, the homes. Plenty of pre-owned homes, and of course, they're putting up brand new homes every day.
They sure are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have 70,000 currently, and it's going up. So homes go up all the time. You can find homes for sale the way you normally find homes for sale. You can go to Zillow, Realtor.com. The unique thing about the Villages, though, that I'll mention is that they have their own set of realtors that work for the developer, and they also have their own website where they put those homes up for sale. So if you want to see every home that's for sale in the Villages, you really need to look both places. Because what I've seen is I've never seen the same house at the same time for sale on the Villages website and also one of the external websites.
That's a question we'll have to ask when we're there next time. And that is like, because we've gone into a couple of open houses, like single open houses. We've gone to like a home show, and then we've also gone to an individual open house. And we've had pretty extensive conversations with the realtors, both at the home show and at the individual homes. But we haven't asked specific questions as to like why make it a public Zillow post versus a Villages post. Right. I am interested now that I've thought about it in asking like a variety of realtors the advantages and disadvantages, because I feel like when people have, kind of their own business, they do have opinions depending on how long they've been in that business or not, and what the advantages are. Yeah. I know the one realtor we talked to had owned 4 or 5 different homes herself.
Yeah. In
the Villages, like she bought a new home every couple of years. So right. Yeah, I actually would like to talk to her again.
Yeah, and I've seen houses go up for sale and move back and forth between a Villages realtor and a non-Villages realtor, and see it on just the Villages site and then on Zillow.
Right.
So they definitely move back and forth. So new homes, I'll note that you can have a home built with concrete walls or stick-built walls. That's one of the key features.
Yeah, the poured concrete versus stick-built. Yeah.
Yeah, the concrete's super nice for strong storms and that, but it's also, those houses are just so darn quiet when you're inside of them.
Yeah, they are. And the homes, in the neighborhoods, the homes are not super far apart. So yeah, it would be nice to have that extra soundproofing.
Yeah, and I'd say that's the number one thing you really pick when if you're going to build a home. That's probably the most costly number one option you're going to select. And of course, that narrows you down into the different series of homes that are available. There's seven different series with, each one of those series has tons and tons of different floor plans. You can get a brand new house. You can purchase a brand new house in the low 200s, and they go up into the 600s for the premium homes And that's without a pool, of course.
And if this is your first listen to homes in Florida, you've never maybe seen a neighborhood or a home in Florida. A bird cage is a screened-in area that covers the entire pool and patio, or just your backyard, because of Florida is, in fact, a tropical area, so bugs are an issue.
Yeah, and I would call it a requirement to have one of those if you're going to have a pool out back, or if you want to hang out back even without a pool. The bugs are so terrible that you're going to want something like that.
Probably, yes.
So the lots are the next thing. Surprisingly, you can get a lot for nothing. Some of the lots are $0, no additional charge for the house. So what I will say, though, is that once you agree to buy the lot, you have to lock in on a building schedule. So you can't just buy a lot and then sit on it for 2-3 years and then sell the lot later, or just decide you want to build later.
And for those of you who've never built a home, so Steve and I are in a house that's in a relatively new neighborhood, and there was a lot across the street from us that was empty but purchased for 3-4 years before the home went in. And it was the same owner. They were just waiting.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in the villages. So no. The nice thing about that is you're not going to live next to an empty lot for any significant amount of time.
Right.
The construction happens, it happens quick. Worst case scenario for you, you're living in the home and the back half of the neighborhood is still being built up, but it's going to be months, not years. So I mentioned $0 for some lots. Other lots, close up to around $200,000 for premium lots. And really the premium lot, for the most part, is what's in your backyard and or which direction is your backyard facing. So one of the things with Florida that most people would agree on is you want to have your backyard, assuming you're going to have a pool, you want to have your backyard, your outdoor lounging area on the east or north side of your house. That way that late afternoon sun isn't just pounding you to death as you're trying to lounge around your pool. Right. So those lots will go, if you maybe you have a golf course or a pond in your backyard and it's facing in one of those two directions, you might pay $150,000, $200,000 for that lot above and beyond the house price. What else is unique about the houses there? One of the things you'll notice, and we put a picture on Facebook, is that people like to put their names out front on the lamppost or just a separate sign with their names. And as in the example of the picture we posted, they also have their two dogs' names on there.
Yes. And I will say that most of our strolls have been in newer neighborhoods. So maybe that's a newer thing. I don't know. We haven't been in the in older neighborhoods. So maybe that's not as popular in an older neighborhood. But in the new ones, I would say 35 to 50% of the homes have the names of the people in the front yard.
Yeah. And they advertise, if you will, celebrate lots of things about themselves. You'll see flags out front for the college or university they went to or that they cheer on, their pro sports teams. You'll see folks just advertise essentially where they're from. Mm-hmm. You'll see a sign for the state or the region they're from.
Pets teams are the big ones. Yeah. If you're seeing anything besides the name.
So I'm going to get into monthly costs here, monthly, yearly costs here in a moment, but I want to touch back on activities. I know we talked about activities in part one, but just to recover that, there are more than 3,000 different clubs that you can join or be a part of in the villages. It includes things like car clubs, state clubs, what state or what region you're from, veterans clubs, sports clubs, crafting, cards, games, you name it.
Right.
You can water ski, you can go fishing. There's tons of trails and parks if you just want to walk around. I know we talked a lot about golf carts, but it's very walkable. I don't know if that's obvious, but it is very walkable as well. And of course, I'll cover golf here in a little bit more detail towards the end of the show today. Okay, let's talk costs. So monthly cost, yearly cost. We'll start on a monthly cadence. So the amenity fee, the monthly amenity fee is $204. Think of that as your HOA. $204. That gets you access to all of those different clubs that I referenced, all the walking trails, the parks, all that stuff is included. All the different activities, access to the recreational areas, all of the town squares, any of the entertainment that comes in. You're not buying tickets to go see a live band or anything like that. So that's $204. And then going to the Village's website, they've made some estimates for some of the other monthly costs. So trash collection, it's $28 a month. That's pretty reasonable. The average sewer cost $40 a month, and the average water bill $50 to $60 a month. So I think the water and sewer, that seems about right. Gas and electric, that's going to vary, obviously. Depending on what you use, they're saying $160, $170 a month. I would think that electric is going to be a lot more than that if you have a pool and pool pump and all those things, but they're probably showing an average low end is my guess.
I feel like as we look more and more at newer homes on the real estate websites, I'm seeing more and more solar panels that run the pool stuff.
Now, the solar panels that you'll see are for heating the water. So you just pump the water up onto the roof. So they're really not what I would call solar panels. They're not generating any kind of electricity. You're literally just funneling the water through those jackets on the roof, which is obviously very hot. So it heats up the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Didn't know.
There are plenty of homes that do have solar panels, the traditional type that generate electricity, though. Average homeowners insurance costs, so they're saying between $120 and $160 a month. I would think that's gonna be very dependent on the insurance company, how much your house costs, do you have a pool or not, a lot of different things. So I wouldn't take that as gospel there. I will say that I found that the average homeowner's insurance cost in Florida, they're saying is roughly $3,700 a year. I don't know how you really average that out.
Because if you're within a mile of the ocean, I'm going to guess you'd want to see more of a
you would want to pick a house that you're interested in and call an insurance company and say, what would you insure that house for? I mean, you need to actually get real cost. Being inland, there's some information out there that says the Villages, you're going to pay roughly 25% less than the average overall cost in Florida. Makes some sense. It would be less. It's inland. You're not going to get the brunt of storm damage. So that makes some sense. But I just would take that with a grain of salt in terms of how much the insurance would be. Then if you look at taxes, you're looking at an average of, they're saying close to $1,000 a month is pretty high. And I'll walk through more of the property taxes. I got 4 different property tax bills I've printed out here to kind of walk through some of the interesting details depending on the type of home you have and the county you live in. So we'll talk about that. But if you believe the Village's website, I suppose this could be a rule of thumb. You're going to pay roughly $1,000 to $1,500 or more monthly cost for your basic utilities, the monthly amenity fee, that $204 HOA fee that I call it, your insurance, and all the property taxes and everything that's on your property tax bill. So no cable. And we're not talking cable TV. We're not talking the stuff you really don't need cable TV, your cell phone bill. That's obviously not included.
Okay. So one of the questions I had going forward is the question of, is HOA HOA? And I'm going to answer my own question. Steve's calling it HOA, and in the Midwest, it would be called that. It is not called that in the Villages. And $200 may sound like a lot if you've never looked at real estate in Florida. It is not. If you're in a condo in St. Petersburg, Florida, and you can see or smell the ocean, you might be looking at $1,000 plus a month in HOA. And and I'm talking about a condo that was built in like 75.
Well, let's talk about that though, because one of the things that they do in the Villages, I'm not a huge fan of. They publicize that amenity fee, $204 a month. It sounds very cheap. And it really is compared to like you said, an HOA up north or a condo, on the ocean. What I don't like is that they also have a bunch of fees inside of your property tax bill. And if you really add all those up, which is how I would look at it, because you have to pay them. There's no way to get out of them. If you're living there, you're paying that amenity fee.
It's never going away.
You're also paying for a fire department and a maintenance fee that are totally separated on your tax bill. So I'm looking at the tax bill actually for the Airbnb that we stay in.
Okay.
So this is in, is it Lake County? I think this is Lake County. So this is a slightly more expensive county in terms of the millage rate for the property tax bill. This is, I would say, if they tried to sell this house today, they could sell it for $1 million. Would you say?
Yeah, I would say low nines up to $1 million.
Yeah,
yes.
It's got a premium lot, pond behind it. It's facing the right way. So the pool's on the east side of their house. Tile throughout. It's a nice place.
It's a nice place. Well, and not only are you looking at a pond, you're also backed up by a park. So there's never going to be anyone behind you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So their total tax bill for last year was $12,954.
Ooh.
So their tax bill is broken up into two distinct sections. There's ad valorem and non-ad valorem. Am I pronouncing that right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Latin.
Okay. Yeah, and I took Latin never.
Valorem?
Sure.
I think it's valorem, ad valorem. Let's go with ad valorem and not ad valorem. So ad valorem means according to value. So there's according to value and not according to value. So essentially what this is saying is that the tax bill has a section that is based on how much your property is assessed for. And then there is a section of charges that do not relate to how much your property assesses for. So let's talk the first section, the big chunk of the money. This is the portion that is dependent on your assessed value. So for this Airbnb, for the portion that they pay for their assessed value, that's $9,000 and change for the year. So you get some Lake County money, you're paying some money for the ambulance, the water authority, public schools, a local city, some water management, and then a hospital chunk of money as well. So that's all based on your assessed value.
Okay.
And there's a percentage of millage rate that they charge you. And Lake County, as I mentioned earlier, is a little bit more expensive than Sumter County. So these would be marginally higher than what they would have been if they would have been in the neighboring county. Then there's the non-ad valorem. And this is the part that I would consider, it's really part of your HOA. So you pay the $204, but you're also paying $170 per year, not per month. So $170. So
this is part of your tax bill.
This is part of your property tax bill.
Okay.
So you're paying the neighboring city of Leesburg for their fire services. $170 is the charge for this lot. And then you're also paying a maintenance fee. This is to the CDD that I mentioned in the last episode 1. And that maintenance fee is $716 for the year. So if you add those two up, you're talking about $900, roughly $900 for the year.
For fire and maintenance.
Fire and maintenance. So we're talking $90 to $100 a month, which in effect changes your overall HOA to more like $300 a month if you had that $204 amenity fee. Now, the last chunk that's this thing called the property bond.
Okay.
This is the big charge. So a property bond is a giant chunk of money that they associate with the property that you have to pay off. It's a bill that you can pay off over between a 20 and 30 year period. And they put it in your tax bill out of convenience for you. And this bond payment goes back to the developer, and it's also for maintenance and things of that nature, just like this monthly maintenance charge. So after those 20 or 30 years, depending on the property you buy, this will fall off your tax bill. For this Airbnb that we're renting, their annual bond payment is $3,051.
Okay.
So they're paying, I'm assuming theirs is a 30-year bond. That's $91,000 and change over the life of the property. Now, I remember talking to a realtor when we were there, and they told us that there's no advantage to paying that off early because you can just pay it in cash or pay it off in 2 years or 5 years or however long you want it to go. They told us that there was no advantage to paying off early because there's no interest, but information I found on the internet says there is an interest rate to that. So that'd be something I would want to check into if I was buying, especially a newer property that hasn't had the bond paid on it yet.
And I will say, if you're looking at homes in older sections, if their bond is paid, so if that house is 30 or 40 years old, if that bond is paid, it mentions it in the real estate ad.
Yeah, it does. You'll see that bond paid, and it doesn't go into what that exactly means, in detail. But that's something that you'll definitely want to look into. So
it's a common knowledge thing there. If your bond is paid, it seems like that's a thumbs up for purchase.
And obviously, if they advertise that it's paid, that's real simple. If they don't advertise that it's paid and you're buying a 5-year-old house, you're going to know that at a minimum they've paid 5 years of the bond. But I would always look into how much of the bond has been paid, what remains on it, and make sure you understand that. Now, you can always look at the property tax bills, as I have here, to see what the annual bond is, so you'll have an idea of what you're going to have to pay.
Mm-hmm. And you'll notice on this particular home that there's no homestead. As we mentioned in the last episode, the Airbnb that we have used before is not their primary residence. So there is no homestead benefit.
That's correct. Yes. They've chosen to call their home Livingston, Texas, which I'll talk about a little bit later. If you know, if you know why Livingston, Texas is interesting, then you already know what I'm going to talk about. If not, wait for it, and I'll cover that here in a few minutes. Looking at another house that's in the same neighborhood as our Airbnb, this one is assessed at $500,000. The Airbnb is assessed at $565,000. And as you know, assessed values are always, that includes just the structure, not the land. So I mentioned that Airbnb price out for $1 million. The lot's probably easily 200,000+ plus the assessed value. By the way, look at your own property tax bill, look at the assessed value. Generally, you can sell your house for a lot more than what the assessed value is.
Yeah, compare that to the Zillow estimate, which is not accurate, but it gives you a rough idea.
But this house here, it has a smaller pool, but all in, it's a really nice house too. I think it's actually for sale, and they're trying to sell it in the low $825,000, I think.
Have you shown me this house?
Yeah, this is one with the small round pool.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a house that was on sale on Zillow, and then they took it down and put it for sale on the Villages site. And now they've taken it down from there and put it back on the Zillow site. So that would tell me they're probably trying to charge a little bit more than what it's worth. I think one of the negatives on this house is it does have a very small pool. It's almost like a large hot tub size, but it's a pool. So this house here, their tax bill, $11,000. So it's $1,000 or $2,000 cheaper, I guess, than the other house. And this one, the bond is a little bit less, $2,850 a year, but very similar charges. So the fire and the maintenance fees are the same. Now moving over to the adjoining county, Sumter County. Here's a house here that's assessed at $382,000. So a little bit cheaper. It's a little bit older. I think it's 5 or 6 years old. This property tax bill, we're looking at $7,118. So a lot less than that Airbnb that we're staying in. In terms of the stats of the home, 3-bed, 3-bath, it's got the same basic stats. It has a pool. It is 2 or 3 years older than the Airbnb.
Okay.
But you're looking at saving $6,000 a year in property taxes.
Yeah. And for someone living on, even if you're loaded, if you're living on retirement income instead of your occupation income, that would be very attractive.
And if you look at the property tax bill here, it's split up into 2 sections again, the ad valorem and non-ad valorem. So the top half of the bill, $4,400, that's based on the assessed value of the home versus the $9,000 on the Airbnb. So that's half. And then when you just look at what I would almost call the additional HOA fees, so the maintenance, the fire district fee, and then of course also on top of that the bond, that's $2,700 a year versus roughly $4,000 a year for the other home. So this bond here, $1,700 a year. It's roughly $50,000 over 30 years versus $91,000 over 30 years for the Airbnb. And this is just because it's in a different county, and it was built a few years before this other one. They've definitely been raising the bonds on the properties. So as they develop new areas where they got to completely develop, put where there's no kind of infrastructure at all, they're definitely raising those bond fees as they build newer and newer houses. So it doesn't necessarily relate to what you're getting out of the home. It's just, I think the developers are starting to realize, man, we need to start charging more for these fees, because once those bonds are paid, you don't have to pay that anymore. So the developer's they're only getting that maintenance fee, that yearly much smaller charge. There's no more bond left, so they're not getting that influx of cash anymore.
Right. I'm surprised, and I could be wrong here, but I'm surprised that homes in that cheaper county aren't going for more, because that's a significant difference in yearly expense.
Well, I don't think people look at that stuff, quite frankly. I think people impulse buy and they don't really care. And the newer areas are newer, shinier. They look more fun. I don't know.
Well, I will say,
shiny is better, right?
I really like the house that we've stayed in. I really like it. And I can see getting twinkle eyes and you pointing out $7,000 a year difference and me going, oh.
Yeah. But that one I told you about, that's so much less, the $7,100 in property taxes for the year. That's the other house we want to look at that you really like. And it's in a great, frankly, I think it's in a better location than the Airbnb house we stay in, which is in a good location as well. But I just think this is a little bit more centrally located.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So some of you may have heard in the news here, literally over the last few days, few weeks, that Florida is looking at trying to cut property taxes for all residents. And I think the first headline I saw was eliminate property taxes. And then as you dig in, they're not really eliminating them. So what's really going on? As of this recording, the Florida House of Representatives voted to approve this huge property tax cut. And what it includes is anything that is not related to education. Which, if I'm looking at this house, this Airbnb house, you're still going to pay your bond. You're still going to pay those non-ad valorem fees because you're living in the villages. So for this Airbnb house, that's close to $4,000 right there. So you're still paying that $4,000. But then when I look at the other section where schools are located, that section is $9,000 total. The school fees are $3,300-ish of that. So you're still going to pay that $3,300. So you're looking at saving on a $13,000 property tax bill in the villages. You're going to save maybe $5,000 to $6,000 a year, which is nice. Don't get me wrong, but it's some of the things you read on the internet, you got to be careful about. Again, they're saying, hey, we're going to eliminate property taxes. Nah, not really. You're going to take a giant chunk out of that particular portion of the bill, but there's still going to be a lot of property taxes left over. Now, having said that, there's still bills to be paid. So how are they going to pay those bills if they're going to say, hey, we're going to cut your property tax bill? I haven't found great information on that other than speculation, but there is some thought into raising the sales tax in Florida, which I believe is at 6% now. So they're looking at raising it as high as maybe 9%. Obviously, that would supplement things nicely. The good thing about that, I suppose, as a Florida resident would be that at least you have the power to at least somewhat affect the taxes you pay. You can spend less money and therefore pay less taxes. Obviously, you can't cut spending to zero, but you can at least affect it on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis.
I guess I'm going to throw in the reminder that there is no state tax in Florida.
Yeah, no state income tax, obviously.
So that's there
as well. One of the reasons to live there.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk miscellaneous stuff. So mail. Mail is delivered to centralized locked kiosks. They basically have little post offices all over the place. Generally, they're located at these rec centers. And that's of note because a lot of people that live there also go vacation or they're snowbirds or they're just generally on the move, and you're not going to have a bunch of mail piling up. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention is about Livingston, Texas. So I alluded to that earlier. In Livingston, Texas, there is a company called the Escapees RV Club. And they, obviously, I think it is, they cater to RVers. They have lots of different benefits at joining their club. The basic membership is $50 a year. They also offer something very unique. They offer you a Texas or Florida or South Dakota address.
Oh, I don't think I knew that those other states were in there.
So
I thought it was Texas only.
Their main headquarters are in Livingston. They also offer the Florida and South Dakota. So if you know anything about Texas, Florida, and South Dakota, they sound like they're three very different states, but they all have one major thing in common, and that's no income taxes. No state income taxes. So for RVers, especially if you're a full-time RVer or nearly full-time RVer, you're still going to pay income taxes because you're still pulling money out of your IRAs as you're, assuming you're retired, you're still pulling money out. You join this club, they offer you that address in one of those three states, and so now your state income taxes are zero.
Sort of like a P.O. box. Well, it is a P.O. box, really, but it's a P.O. box that's also a residence.
Yeah, you have residency of that state or one of those three states.
Even if you've never stepped foot in that state.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can own a home somewhere else, and a lot of these folks do. In fact, as I was looking at the property tax bill for the Airbnb we stay at, their mailing address is Livingston, Texas. So obviously they know about this Escapees RV Club as well. Interesting, though, that they choose that even though they have a home in Florida. I thought that was interesting. Now, I think I know why, and it's because there are other benefits to being part of this Escapees RV Club. They cost you a little bit more money, but they also offer mail services it's $110 a year. So they will accept your mail and store your mail. They'll even scan your mail upon request and send you digital copies. They'll open it or read it for you. And they can even box it up and ship it to you wherever you're at if you request them to do that. Now,
I am shocked at how cheap this is.
Well, so the scanning services are additional.
Right.
There's add-ons upon add-ons for this stuff. But one thing I'll note is the scanning service. If you want to just see what's coming into your mailbox, regardless of where you live, there's a service provided by the United States Postal Service called Informed Delivery.
If you've never heard of this, you need to write Steve a thank you note because this is awesome.
It's really cool. You sign up for Informed Delivery. It's free. And you get an email every day. There's even an app you can download if you want to just look. But they send you an email every day with images of all the mail that's coming to your door that day.
Yeah, it makes it so that if we don't feel like walking down to our mailbox, we don't, because it's just a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, right. If something important is coming, you'll see, hey, it's going to be delivered today, so you want to run down and go grab that. It's a really nice feature.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, I would recommend going to this Escapees RV Club, their website. It's pretty interesting, all the different things that they offer. They started it as this RV club, and it's kind of grown into this interesting tax avoidance kind of service for folks that are looking to, maybe they do travel a lot, but it also helps to avoid state income taxes. Okay, let's switch over to some more fun stuff. Let's talk golf a little bit. So the Villages is very famous for golf. They have 15 championship courses, which are their 18 to 27 hole courses. And then they have 47 9-hole executive courses with more on the way, as always. For the 9-hole courses, residents play for free, which is pretty cool. Now, if you bring a cart and you want to ride your cart, which I think most people would, they charge you $4 to do that.
What?
Yeah, so you got to pay $4. Otherwise, it's free. No additional charge.
Mm-hmm.
No additional charge above the amenity fees and all the other fees we just talked about. The championship courses, that's a different story. They do charge you depending on your membership level. So you can get an enhanced membership, which is going to cost you up to, I think it's $1,000. Yeah, $1,082 for 2 people for the year.
Okay.
So like I said, depending on if you want to buy an additional membership to these championship golf courses, you pay anywhere between $40 and $105 to play 18 holes at one of those courses. Or you can tool around and play the 9-hole courses for free.
I can see you doing the 9 holes for a couple years and just kind of popping around, seeing what you like.
Well, it depends. I mean, I enjoy golfing, but most of the reason I enjoy golfing is golfing with buddies. So
yeah,
as you start finding people to hang out with, depending on what it is they want to do, if they're
change your
wanting
golf
to play,
culture.
yeah, if they want. Some people like to play different courses every time they play. Other people really like to focus in on 1 or 2 different courses. So
yeah, it's kind of like
depends on what you want.
Reminds me of restaurants. I know people that want to like try something new every weekend, whereas you and I are like, we're going to the same places. Yeah. We find what we like and we get So
getting tee times can be a little bit difficult. And if you want to read a bunch of angry people complaining about golf and tee times, get on Reddit or one of those.
What?
Yeah. People get very passionate about this.
Angry people on the internet?
Yeah. So what they have here at the Villages is they have an automated booking system that's available 23 hours a day, 7 days a week. So once a day they shut her down for an hour to, I guess,
polish it
unplug it, plug it back in kind of thing.
Maybe.
I don't know. So you call in, you put in your information. So you put in your code number for your
membership or whatever.
Yeah. And you say, hey, I want to play golf. Well, it's not a first come, first serve. Not quite. It's partially based on first come, first serve, but it's also based on cancellation points. So, and these reset every week.
So Steve explained this to me, I believe, the last time we visited. He explained this whole thing to me, and my brain started to hum like, oh my God, here we go. And this is actually pretty interesting how they do this.
It's basically you get punished if you book a tee time and then cancel. So if you cancel a tee time on the day that you're supposed to play, you get 2 points against you. And then if you fail to show up or cancel before the day that you're supposed to play, that's 1 point against you. So as the week goes, you get deprioritized based on how many points you have. So even if you requested a tee time sooner than someone else, if you have more points than them, they're going to get priority over you. That seems fair to me.
Yeah.
Okay, then that wraps up our 2-part episode on the Villages. Yeah. Do you feel like we did it justice?
Yeah. I have a lot of things I want to cover or I want to look into when we get there.
Yeah, we'll have to do a part 3 after we get back in April.
I've got a lot more pointed questions this time, and I want to talk to a variety of people with the same question and see what the perspectives, because I feel like anything, you're going to get people who are sick of it and people who are really excited about it.
Yeah. Okay. So any questions for us, give us an email at retirementoutsiders@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube videos, YouTube channel, and give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast provider. We'd appreciate it. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope you'll join us again next time on the Retirement Outsiders.